So time to do the rear brake shoes on this Suzuki Swift. Turn the camera around. Now, I'm not going to show you how to take a tyre off, because if I need to show you how to do this, please do not try and do your brakes. These nuts. You've got a big nut there. I think this one's 32 mil. Now, I've already undone this one, but there's a little gap here on the thread, and they're generally kinked over to stop the nut from undoing. So just gently pry that up, use a hammer, chisel it up, blah, 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 and then undo this nut. On this model, the whole hub comes off. So this nut must be removed. The bearings are actually in the drum itself, the brake drum itself. Take that off, put it to the side, and then this should just slide straight off. Bearing in mind, I have already removed this. I've just put it together to show you. Slide it off. Chuck that down on the ground. There's your brake shoes. These are down quite low, so they're on the roadworthy. They would have picked on it for sure. Now, if you've never done brake shoes, you've never worked on a car before, but you want to have a crack at it, I recommend you take photos. There's a few components in here, and they all go specifically where they're meant to go. Now, get your camera, take a photo of that. Take a photo on that angle. Take a photo on that angle. Take a photo on this angle. Then you can refer back to what it is and how it goes back together. All right, now let me just show you how to start disassembling it. Okay, the first place I'm going to start is removing these springs. If you don't remove these springs and you undo this, you run the risk of everything just falling apart. Well, they won't fall apart because you've got pins and all sorts of crap holding them. These will be the hardest one that I'll show you how to do, because that pin runs all the way through to the back, which is that one there. Now there's a method to get them out, and you will need a decent pair of pliers. So if you don't own any tools and they're all just crap tools, I recommend you spend good money and get a good pair of pliers. They'll last you forever and they will do everything, because if you don't, you'll get blood blisters all the time. So let's get into it and start pulling the springs apart. Righto, so just whack your pliers on the end of the spring there. As you can see, I tilt it back. Just hold it, clamp it as hard as you can, and just push forward. It'll unclip. Unclip it out the other side. Put it to the side. The top one's a little bit harder to get into. Just slide your pliers along it. Same principle. Just pull it out and it's done. Now there's another spring, this tiny little one right here. This one's got to come off. It's a lot tighter than that one. Just pull it off, take it out. You'll notice that goes in one way and one way only, and goes in one hole and one hole only. This is why you need to take your photos, guys. Now I'm going to do these clips here. These, there is only one way. You hold your pliers about that wide open. You put it over the top of this clip. You use the palm of your hand. You hold the pin at the back and you push on it, clamp it, turn it, and it slides off just like that. So what you're doing is you're going to try and push the pliers, this is sitting like that, to clamp that by pressing that down and then turn it. That's it. Just leave it there. You don't have to pull it out. It won't get in the way whatsoever. Righto, now we've got to release the handbrake, because the handbrake, as these wear down, it adjusts itself out, and this is the actual handbrake section right here. You'll see the little teeth on it. It too is spring loaded, but you do not have to pull the spring off the back of this. When you've got it loose like that, all you do is just push on it and it will go in. See how it went in? That's it. So that brake shoe on that side is ready to come off. Just take note on how this came out. Jump on the other side. Excuse the camera angle, but righto, we'll take that one out, and that's done. You'll notice that this is hooked onto the actual handbrake cable. We'll get the camera around right here. Don't stress, it just slides off. Just like that, slides off. Take note of which hole this is going in. I do not know if they are different between models. This is why you take your photos. This little clip here, it's the kind of clip that you'd see on a toy car. And I'm being serious about that, to hold the little plastic wheels on. All you do is get a screwdriver in underneath, and you just slowly but gently, without breaking it, you just lever it up. And that's all you need to do. I'll do that off camera. At this point, you want to now take the cap off your reservoir for your brakes. Now, the reason why you do that, just pull that little filter section out. Just check to make sure your level isn't really high, because if it's really high, you may need to put a rag or something around here in case you overflow it, and I'll show you the reason why. Now, that's a good level. It won't affect what we're about to do next. Now, because these brakes are worn down, the slave cylinder, it's fully extended all the way out. So you just grab your screwdriver, just push very gently on it. The piston will go in. This will push the fluid back into the brakes. Like that. Make sure it's all the way in, otherwise you're not going to get your drum back on when you put your brakes back together. And do both sides, guys. You've got to do both sides. So sometimes you can just squeeze them with your finger. This one, I'm lucky I can squeeze them with your finger, otherwise I'd have to put the camera down. So just squeeze them in, make sure they're all the way. Now that's ready for assemble. See how it's not protruding as much as it was before? Which means when we put the new brake shoes on, which are thicker, they're going to fit inside the drum. Okay, old brake pad, which has still got this section here on it, which is for your handbrake. Remember that little circlip I was talking about earlier? I've already taken it off. This is my new pad. Look at the difference, heaps. Now what you want to do, sometimes, whether it be this model car, whatever, always make sure you got the right brake shoe to match the other brake shoe that you've just taken off. These ones are generic, so they'll go left, right, front, forward. Doesn't matter. They're all exactly the same, but some of them are different. So just be wary of that. If you're doing it, just line your brake shoe up, such as like I have. Push that out, slide it to the side a little bit, put the other one on, and you know everything's right. Everything's kosher. Here's your little clip. Now your clip just pushes over the top, right? You don't have to watch me do that, but make sure, it's so important to make sure you have got the right brake shoe for the front or the back of the actual hub itself. Like I said, these are generic. They are exactly the same. I'll grab you another one. If you look, all the holes are exactly the same. Cannot get it wrong on this Suzuki Swift. Cannot get it wrong. But on some cars you can. So just making sure that you do check your brake shoes first before you start pulling them apart. Okay, so the back brake shoe is ready to go. Hopefully I get this okay on the camera. Remember how I said it just slides off of that? Turn your brake shoe over. I don't care how you do it. Pull the spring back, push it on. That's all you need to do. Twist it back up. Push it over the top of that little pin with your finger behind it. Sit it in the slot and just sit it up there. It should just hold on its own. Grab your circlip. Now, when you do this, you've got to make sure that your circlip is vertical like that, because that is how you then sit this on. Like so. You can see that that is about to go over the top. You can hold it a little bit with your fingers. Harder to put them on than what it is to get them off. So just bear with me for a second, because I knew I was going to bump the camera. Righto, take two. I've moved the camera. So just line it up with your fingers like that, like so. Hold it to the back. Remember, put them in the palm of your hand. Push really hard, but hold the pin. Grab hold of it, twist it, clip it on. Done. Now that you've got pressure on that, you can start moving this into the position that it needs to go. See? Just like that. The other shoe is easier because you haven't got everything else. Just chuck it in. Hold your pin. I'll pull that pin out actually. I'll show you what it looks like. That's all it is. Looks like a little nail. It's a good design. It's been around since I've known cars. You'll find them in every car. When you're on a good thing, stick to it, I suppose. So, put that in there. Hold that with my thumb. So I can get it almost right. Pliers, push, twist. Done. Righto. So now, all you've got to do is get these back into here. Leave room, because now we've got to do the handbrake adjuster. So your handbrake adjuster, you can just slide it in the back like that and push it into that slot over there, like so. And now we can start to do our springs. Okay, time to put the springs in. This one, make sure it goes in the right hole. So it slots in, comes over, grab a grip on it as low down towards the spring as you can. Use 2 hands and get it over. That one's done. The other 2 springs. You can go either direction as long as it goes in. This is why I tell you, you've got to have good pliers, because if you don't, this is when you're going to start getting blood blisters. And you don't want blood blisters. Not on a Saturday. This spring here, on this model, doesn't matter if it goes left or right, because it doesn't interfere with anything. Same as that one up there, left or right, doesn't matter, won't interfere with anything. Reference back to those photos I told you to take earlier, and you're not going to have any dramas. So that's it, guys, ladies and gentlemen. Brake shoes are done. Now you want to just have a look around. They do have movement in them. You can push them up and down, as you can see. You just want to try and get them as centre as you possibly can. Okay, time to put the hub on. The difficulty I had before was I didn't push the handbrake cable adjuster far enough out. Right, so you've got to make sure that you get all this in properly, and if you push that race out a little bit, just tap it in with a screwdriver. Make sure everything's all nice and kosher. Alright. Don't go smashing at it. Just go a little bit, Whack your nut on. And I'm pretty sure the torque setting on this for Grumpy Garage would be maybe 5 Uggadugs. So get it all up nice and tight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Uggadugs, and that's right to go. Righto, you can see where that little space is on the bolt, which is the stub axle. You can see right here the aluminium nut. Just get your screwdriver. Don't go smashing at it because you'll break it. All you want to do is just tap it over both ends, and that will stop it from undoing. That's it. That's all you need. You do not need to go psychosomatic crazy on it. Just bend it over. It will not undo. Put your wheel back on. And happy days. So I hope you actually enjoyed watching that little short video. I don't know how the editor's going to edit it, whether it's going to be too long and drawn out. I hope not. Don't like boring videos. But I tell you what, my wife could change those brake shoes, and she's a nurse. She's never touched anything mechanical. They are simple. They are basic. Brake shoes cost me $34. Now, don't ask me what a mechanic would charge you to do that, but I tell you what, anything to do with brakes, you're not going to get any change out of 150 bucks, maybe even 200 bucks in Australia. So go and buy yourself a slab, do it yourself, sit down. Don't drink before you start doing it. Take the car for a test drive. Make sure you push your foot on the pedal to get that slave cylinder back out, and pull the handbrake up and down a few times to make sure that it starts adjusting and it's engaged before you drive off. Happy days. Now let's get to the rest of the car.